All right, this is what's up today. I have another job, but got this V8 Trailblazer. Yeah, so there's no motor room at all. There's no room to do hardly anything. I picked it up because I got a really good deal on it, but I'm a super air conditioner person, so that's my favorite vehicle right now because it's got AC. But anyway, I want AC in this. So getting this compressor out wasn't easy. Actually, it was like probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. First of all, I had to take out off, your fan here. There's a nut here you take off. To get the compressor out, I popped off my top radiator hose here. And then alongside the wall here is I'll show it to you. This sits right inside, it sits along the block right there. This piece does. This is the tightener and stuff, but there's bolts in there on top you take out. Some of these are the compressor bolts, and you pop that off to get the clearance to get it out, but this comes off too. They're like 15 millimeter, and those got to kind of come out together. I got that out before I slid that in behind the compressor as I was pulling it out, so the compressor comes out of that hole right there. Let's see. So I guess so here's the pieces that come out. I'll show you. Okay, here's your fan. That I didn't have a big crescent wrench. I had a big vice grip, but that come off pretty good. You'll have to tighten down your belt or cinch your belt down somehow so you can actually turn that off. I took the blower off the top of the motor, gave me some more room access, and this is probably one of the, I don't know, they had wrecked this thing. See, that's kind of been doctored up or whatever, but this whoever had this before me had it wrecked. I had to put all the other air conditioner pieces in it. I had to put the holding canister, I had to put the air conditioner condenser, and then he said the compressor was good, but it was junk, so I'm replacing that, and that's $200. But anyway, I must really want an air conditioner compressor if I'm doing all this work. So anyway, this is just a little tip. I don't know if you care about your fan shroud, but these are hard to get in and out. So all I did is I took a side grinder with a cutting wheel and I shaved off about half moon of this, so I can just slide it in from the top now. I don't have to. Well, anyway, this is what I did. So if you don't want to take the big one off, which when I was doing work before, I didn't want to take this off, so I ended up doing that, which doesn't that big of a deal. But usually if you want all to come out one piece, you just screw that off and then take the two bolts out here and there, and it'll all come out. But it was just easier for me when I was doing other work. I didn't want to take the fan off, that I just went ahead and took that stuff off. It probably helps keep stuff out, but I just figured it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm the kind of guy that says, oh, I don't need this, and I just cut it off, take it out. Another thing with this air conditioner compressor, which there was some stuff on YouTube about it, but not a whole lot. So anyway, in here, your two top bolts are in here. Well, one bolt is way behind your freaking strut and everything, and I'll tell you what, I had to cut a 15 millimeter socket in half. Okay, and I lost my socket in the midst of taking this off. I think you can buy some open end wrenches with like a 3/8 hole for a socket, for a ratchet on it, and you can get in there and turn it, but it's like impossible. So here's what's left of the socket that I cut in half. Here's the end of it, almost in half, but you can't get in there at all. So when I got it cut in half, that was fine. So then it's like, okay, so you got the socket on there, then what do you do? Well, then I had this extension. What I do, I went to the, okay, if you want to like mangle parts, you know what to do your own, go to the pawn shop. There's a pawn shop right up from the Woodbury County Jail. They got a lot of old tools in there. So I took and to get in there, see, I had to get in at an angle, see, and the corner was stopping me. So I grinded off a corner of this extension, and it got me in there just enough to get enough leverage to break it loose. And I broke it loose, then my socket fell. But then I can get a box end wrench in there. I can get a box end wrench in there and keep turning it like quarter turns, and then have to flip the wrench and keep turning it. That's the only way to turn it. So I finally got it loose. So then when you get the bolt loose, guess what? The bolt hits the frame here. The bolt hits the frame, you can't even pull it out. Okay, same way with the front side of this. So here's the bolt we're talking about. Okay, this is the new bolt. This hole here and this hole here, you can't get your bolts out. Okay, but this one you can loosen up to where you're moving it. This one, you hit the frame, you can't even get it out. Now this is on a V8 and a Trailblazer. It's like a V8 and an S10, so there's no room to work. So this bolt here, I got out so far, and then you guys don't want to know how I cut it. You probably could have got a torch in there and cut it off, but this was my, it took a long time. This is a Sawzall blade on a long flat bar looking piece of metal there, and I cut it from the beginning. I cut it from the front. Okay, you can say this is nuts, but this is how bad I want air conditioning. So what I did is I stuck my saw down in here, and I sawed it like this for 2 hours. I finally got my bolt cut off so I could get my compressor out, because there's no other way it was going to happen. I'm not jacking the motor up. And so you're like, okay, so he cuts the bolt. He cuts the top bolt because it doesn't come out. What's he going to do? You know what? I'm going to run it on 3. I'm not putting that bolt back in. Okay. I'm going to take the chance and not put this bolt back in. Some people might not suggest that, but you know, I've seen a lot of farm equipment that runs on 3 bolts. You know, that's like your tire. You know, you run on 4 lug nuts instead of 5. But I'm not putting this one back in. I'm not telling you to or not to, but I'm not putting that one back in. But I'm telling you, this is probably the hardest project I ever had to do. But I'm letting you know, when you're trying to take this out, leave one in, get this one out, and then you're going to have to cut to get it to come all the way out, you know, because it won't come all the way out. You can't get the compressor out because of the frame. So I cut it off, and there was enough sticking, and I left enough sticking out that I could grab it with something, and it was already pretty loose. I could grab it with something, and I could get it the rest of the way out. But I left a bolt in one of these holes while I was doing all that so I could get it out. This bolt has to stay in almost completely until you're taking it out. So when you're trying to get it out through by the motor, you got to find a position where you can slide it out. But just remember, when you put it back in, to make sure you put that bolt in somewhere in your transition and putting it back in. I don't know. I'm not a GM mechanic. All I know is that this was a son of a buck. And so trying to think of any other pointers I had. But yeah, this was the bolt here I cut, and it's not going back in. And this has taken me a while. I had other honeydew projects I had to do that kind of held me up, but this is an air conditioner compressor this is a 5.3 or something. What is this? Yeah, it's a 5.3 liter V8 and a Trailblazer. Like I said, I took all the guts out of here, the radiator cover. I took the fan out. I had loosened up the top hose to get some of the stuff out for the radiator. I loosened up the hose on the water pump to get it out. This come out from alongside of it just a little bit. You know, these are both loose, and this come out before the air conditioner compressor. And but I'm telling you guys, this is not. I don't wish this on my worst enemy. Okay, this is the worst probably part I've ever had to replace. This is worse than the alternator on the Caravan. So I'm getting ready to put this back together, but I'm just letting you know that this is going to be your bolt problem right here. If you're doing this on a Trailblazer, this bolt is going to kill you. So I believe if you got a torch and you're careful, you can get it around on that frame, and you can torch it off and then get it out somehow. But I don't have a torch here. I mean, I could have went and bought one, but I felt like not doing it. But I had success. I went and bought some Sawzall blades. I do have a Sawzall. I thought I could get it in there, and I couldn't get it in there. So I just put it on a rod and sawed it off. Some backwoods mechanical stuff, but you know what? I wasn't gonna let it beat me. It's just, yeah. So that's all I got for you guys. I don't have it back in yet, but you know what? I think the hardest is getting this bolt out here. This is your bolt. This is the bolt from hell. This is the bolt from hell. So, thanks for watching, and happy trails in your mechanical journey.